Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Sorry, my voice is very hoarse today. Didn't get some warm coffee or tea in much this morning. Steve Sawyer from the Developmental Trauma Training Institute here, coming from my friend's house here in Pine Ridge. And just want to say good morning to you all. Thank you for all of you that follow and continue to follow what we say and talk about here. Last week I talked a good amount about generational trauma, in utero trauma, as time has went on, I've been blessed to work with a lot of families and people that trusted me in the trauma work that we do. And it was interesting that since I talked last week, about in utero trauma, I met a new friend that was an adoptee out of his family, and there's a beautiful conversation we had. And he was an adoptee that was adopted out from his family, and just like I've seen many times, it felt like he was missing someone. And I talked about that in utero trauma, and especially with adoptees. My grandmother was an adoptee, and there was a part of her missing a lot of her life. I saw her begin to step into that life in the very last years of her life, and it was something that she finally found towards the end of life after I started talking with her more about it. And the ability for people, we talk a lot about addiction and whatnot on in the DTTI kind of conversations, feeling like something's missing, feeling it in your heart, is often kind of the feeling that people that are walking around with addiction has going on inside. Something's missing in their life. And sometimes that's where that early childhood trauma or even generational trauma can leave a person feeling that way. And I talk through that addiction cycle of someone having a need and then having something there to calm them down. So when we're a baby and we're in the crib and we cry, an attuned parent will come and listen to how you cry. They can learn all the different ways you cry, if you're hungry, if you're tired, etc. And then that mother or that father will meet that need with giving the baby the bottle or whatnot. But when we have a compromised parents, when we're compromised as a parent, we don't attune as well. We're in our stress response. So we're trapped in that stress response, and then we don't respond well. And it's tough in today's world, So in today's world, with being, stressed as a parent, trying to financially make it in today's world, parents that are addictions compromised or just overstressed don't attune as well. And so when a baby gets that bottle from their mother or they get fed from their father, when that happens, it calms down their nervous system. And this is the gateway to building trusting relationship. When an attuned caregiver provides the need that child needs and wants. And they have to attune carefully, and they'll learn those different cries. But when we're under stress, and we all make mistakes, every one of us makes mistakes, but it's about predictability over and over again, that caregiver responding. So when that caregiver doesn't respond accurately, so if my son was hungry, and instead I think he needs a nap and I put him down, his nervous system escalates. If he needs a nap and I feed him, it doesn't calm down that nervous system. So that's the arousal of the nervous system, like sympathetic arousal. Nervous system reacts and ramps up. And so an attuned caregiver steps in there. It's the bridgeway in that cycle. So it goes from need to arousal to caregiver, and particularly an attuned caregiver response or an unattuned caregiver response. if the parent is attuned, they provide the right gratification at that moment, and the baby feels calm. And this is the foundation of trust in human relationship, that people will provide you what you need. If it's an unattuned caregiver, the nervous system ramps up more. You're not hearing me. I cry louder. I get more fussy, and in that, the caregiver gets more and more frustrated. And we all make mistakes as caregivers, and in that we unattune, and then we kind of learn. We dial in with our child. It's like tuning in a radio channel. For those of you that are that are old enough to remember doing that. And we tune in more and more and more, and we all make mistakes, you know. And me and my friend Dr. Gabor Mate were having a conversation one day, and you know, I'd been traveling a lot for my work and those things, and I was feeling guilty, you know, inside. And he said, Steve, he says, do you repair better? And I mentioned that in that last talk. Do you repair better? So maybe I'm unattuned in this moment, or maybe I'm even stressed in stress response for a number of days, but do I come back and repair better? And I kind of looked around, and he's always a man of deep words, and I had to think about it. The ability to apologize to our child. When they're young, we apologize by just making the action right the next time or whatnot. If we're now, my boys are older, or your children are older, it's okay to apologize. And I had to think through the vulnerability that had not been displayed in my family of being able to apologize. And so what Gabor said is repair better. That means to make an attempt every day to attune better. And this is when we interact with people anywhere. When somebody's really struggling and they come to talk to us, are we in our own head? Are we dismissive? You know, we see this all the time when somebody says, hey, how are you doing today? Do we have time to be honest? Do we take time with each other to be honest and say, I'm having a hard time, and open our heart? Or do we just say, I'm good, I'm fine? So in that, this is the foundation of human struggle, when people don't stop and take time for each other and have a conversation and be present with each other. And in that, you know, when I catch myself in that situation, I apologize and I try to do better. Everybody out there is doing the best that they can. It's tough in today's world with the stresses, the politics, everything going on out there. But when people make mistakes, do they, you know, do we have the vulnerability to say I'm sorry and repair better to our children, to our partners, to our families? Or you know, do we, when we make a mistake in our workplace or with interactions with somebody and realize that we didn't really listen, and we move past them, do we go back and repair? Is the vulnerability is to say, you know what, I was wrong, I made a mistake, and you know, I'm sorry I didn't listen to you in that moment, or I didn't attune to you in that moment. That's where repair happens. Once a baby is becoming a young child, and even if they're an adult, and this is your hope shot, you all relationships are healable, every single one of them. It just takes consistency, commitment, and following through with the actions. Even if we've made the biggest mistakes, for those of you that have maybe walked with addiction, you know, that have really, really struggled throughout even your child's younger years, do you repair better? For those of you that are out there in the recovery community, inside of that, every relationship is repairable. And when we make amends, it's not about it's not about, you know, just saying I'm sorry. It's about that commitment to change. Here, I love Native Wellness Institute shirts. I was wearing a shirt just the other day that says healing is a verb. Healing is action. Some of us are looking for something to help us heal, to look somewhere else for that. And I always talk about that, the healing and the medicine lives within you. And so in that, when we take action, even when we make mistakes and it's hard, you can heal any relationship that's been fractured or harmed throughout time. And sometimes it takes years. When I work with a lot of people in addictions, I say, hey, you were at it for this many years. It might take twice as long to heal that, and then sometimes not. But in that, the action of healing that relationship in itself helps us on our side, whether they accept that apology or not, whether that they respond with reciprocity in that moment, doesn't matter. We are taking the healing action for that relationship in that time. And what is the healing? What is the healing action in any relationship? It's time and commitment. And so in that, this foundational cycle needs the nervous system arousal, sympathetic arousal. The nervous system ramps up. Gratification by an attuned caregiver. So it goes from that arousal to an attuned caregiver or an unattuned caregiver. Then our response to them either brings gratification or not. And then this is the foundation of the building of trust. This doesn't just apply in early childhood. We know that the nervous system builds a lot of those pathways in early childhood, but all modern science has shown that even our brain can change well into adulthood. It used to be in the addictions world that we taught, where people would say, I fried my circuits, I'm damaged forever. I've seen miracles happen with people staying clean and healing and even repairing their relationship with their body. That's often a part, by the way, of the healing of trauma, is developing and reestablishing a relationship with your body. My wife, who speaks on here regularly, talks about befriending your body. So we just don't have to repair our relationships out here, but we have to repair our relationships. We have to repair them with ourselves. And we do that by going quietly within. There is something to meditation. There's something to spending time in your body, not just being outside and responding outside, but having time and going inside. I have to practice that every single morning before anything starts because of all the movement that's going on every day. So not only repair your relationships, that's the equation for our foundation of trust in a relationship. And then we can repair those relationships with commitment and providing that gratification in a relationship and trying to make things right. But we have to do it with ourselves, ultimately here to live and be repaired here inside of us. Most people look outside of themselves for that. But like I said, that medicine is right inside of here. I love some of these shirts that see, that say, we are the medicine, and it's not just for other people, it's for ourselves. And the last thing I wanted to talk about today was lateral aggression, or better termed lateral violence. When we grow up in households with developmental trauma, or really in generational trauma, when you look at multiple generations of survival mode, we get programmed in our nervous systems with that fight response, that flight response I talk about, freezing up and not being able to speak or make a move or make a decision. And I also talk about fawning and appeasement, other conversations. But inside of that experience, by going through generations, I've had the blessing of working with survivors of the Holocaust. I have the blessing of all the time working with our native relatives, our indigenous people here in the United States and elsewhere. And then all of our families that are out there, that are immigration, etc. All of the families everyone has its own form of generational trauma because of how it is to exist in this world with surviving war, famine, poverty, etc. And this puts our nervous system trapped in a response. And I always talk about responding versus reacting. So when you have generations that have grown up in fight or war, poverty, etc., the natural, and Samuel Butler said this, self-preservation is the first law of nature. So in that, the only counter to that is when a mama bear will protect her cubs. But when we're in self-preservation, it's like crabs in a pot. They're trying to crawl out and another one grabs it by its leg and pulls it back in. And this happens in a lot of generationally or intergenerational trauma communities. And there's lots of them. And it's in all communities. And this is where that relationship with ourself and us healing ourself. I love it. We shared a quote not too long ago that said, to heal ourselves is the best gift we can give our children. And that's where that generational chain can start to be broken down, is by us repairing better, being vulnerable enough to do that, responding, not reacting, taking care and healing, and I mean healing, our fight, flight, freeze, appeasement, and fawning responses. By healing those, we break the chain so our child can grow up protected and not carry on the burdens of generations. And lateral aggression towards each other doesn't help anyone, and I see it constantly, where it happens inside of families. And it really, really, really harms that family from being able to break the generational chains of trauma. And it exists in a lot of families. It's not one family. Many families have those generational chains tied to them, and then inside that family be in conflict with each other. And I walk and interact with that almost every day in the line of work that I do. And it's in all communities, black, white, yellow, and red. All of them. All of those communities have it because of the survival that it is to be on this planet today. That's current developmental and acute trauma response, and generations. When you learn about your family, you learn about how things played out for them. That's where it lives inside of us. And that is all healable, you all. And it's all inside of here, inside of your heart. To be inside of your heart and spend time there, to sit quietly, to do things like meditation, body-based focused work. I do a lot of breath work as a freediver. To do those things helps to calm that all down. Some other things help, like water. You know, we're made of water. We have to drink lots of water, wash off with water. We do it every day in the shower. So in that, these are all things that we have to connect with ourselves, and the medicine's inside of here, you all. I'll leave it about that much. I went much longer than planned, but that was all on my mind today to share with you all, and thinking about you all out there that follow us. We are grateful. Please share these with others. On the YouTube channel, you can search Developmental Trauma Training Institute. Right on YouTube, and please follow us there. All of these Facebook Lives are loaded into there and are available there, and going back a long ways, lots of conversations about these kinds of things. And grateful for all of you there out there supporting us, and what we're trying to do is to heal this generation developmental trauma. When we heal developmental trauma, either in ourselves or we protect and guard our children from it, it breaks that chain of generational trauma. And so developmental trauma is why we're so focused, because right now we can work on breaking that chain by repairing better, like I talked about, and attuning, taking time with each other, and actually connecting, being an attuned person, not just an attuned caregiver, but an attuned person to those people around us. And right there, sometimes people, right, we do not know they're suffering. We judge people and those kinds of things. We do not know what their suffering is, so we just attune and see how we can help and support them. So thank you all. Have a beautiful week. Same time, same place next week. And take care, everybody. Have a beautiful day.